find a better place to center the government and center his realm. Concrete people along the way, and eventually he settles in the Yamato region, and that becomes the center of Japan's government, all the way until it moves to Tokyo in 1868.
As he was working his way northwards, he was actually assisted by a divine crow, a three-legged crow known as Yatagarasu. Yatagarasu loosely translates to eight-span crow, so we can imagine that this crow would have been extremely large. In some instances, Yatagarasu is also depicted within a fiery orb in the sky.
This so-called crow guided him on his journey and advised him in military matters to ensure his success. And when you look at ancient depictions of this crow, it is often depicted inside some kind of an orb, this circular disc. So if you look at that, you have to ask, what exactly were the ancient Japanese talking about here? Because this to me sounds more like he was being guided by some kind of a flying craft than an actual crow. Could Japan's first emperor, Jimmu, and the imperial family today be direct descendants of extraterrestrials? And might the three-legged crow, Yatagarasu, really have been an alien craft? Ancient astronaut theorists say yes, and suggest further evidence can be found by examining a military coup designed to cover up this extraterrestrial heritage. Kyoto, Japan, 1183. Military General Minamoto no Yoritomo besieges the capital city of Japan, forcing the current Emperor Antoku and his bodyguard to flee. For nearly 700 years after, military dictatorships known as shogunates maintained strict control over Japan. Isolationist policies allowed few to enter or exit the islands, with death as the ultimate penalty. Only in 1867 did Shogun Tokugawa Yoshinobu, facing a revolt from the Japanese people, relinquish control of the government back to the emperor.
The Meiji Emperor, who was the first of the emperors after the Restoration, made a point of tracing his lineage all the way back to Emperor Jimmu and to Amaterasu as well. So this notion of a divine emperor, of a living kami at the head of Japan, was resuscitated.
They wanted to return to the original Japanese empire, the one founded by Jimmu and his connection with the extraterrestrial beings. What happened after this is extraordinary. Suddenly, Japan takes off. It starts accelerating in its technological ability. It suddenly becomes a world-conquering nation.
By the early 20th century, Japan was a superpower, and it had amassed a vast colonial empire rivaling that of the greatest Western colonial empires. And what Japan accomplished in modernization in the span of 20 years, it took most European nations about 200 or even 300 years to accomplish.
So you have to wonder, with the reinstating of the royal family, was this also a reconnection to the technical and extraterrestrial past that had begun centuries ago in Japan and is now continuing today, possibly with the guidance of extraterrestrials?
Could Japan's meteoric rise to power be a direct result of reinstating the divine, perhaps extraterrestrial dynasty originally established by Emperor Jimmu? And is this why some of Japan's top government officials have recently made statements supporting the notion that alien visitation theorists say yes, and suggest further evidence of an alien presence in Japan today can be found by examining a recent mass UFO sighting.
In July 2015, multiple witnesses in and around the city of Osaka sighted a fleet of UFOs moving in a quite extraordinary fashion in broad daylight right over the city.
And various people caught them from different angles on camera. Now, the government was quick to dismiss them as candles or lanterns in the sky, but the erratic movements and patterns suggested that they were technological in nature. Similar white orbs were reported 4 years earlier, during one of the worst environmental disasters in mankind's history. On March 26, 2011, 2 weeks after the meltdown of the Fukushima Daiichi nuclear power plant in Okuma, Japan, a fleet of white orbs was recorded hovering over the site.
If we go back and look at the history of the UFO subject, we find a great deal of interest with, for example, our atomic energy plants, our nuclear missile silos, and it suggests to me that maybe we're seeing alien entities who are deeply concerned by our usage of atomic power.
Could the white orbs witnessed above Osaka and Fukushima be alien craft belonging to the same celestial beings the Japanese trace back to their very origins? Perhaps further clues can be found by examining recent attempts by Japanese astronomers to make contact with extraterrestrial beings. Tokyo, Japan, July 1983. At the University of Tokyo Astronomical Observatory, astronomers Hisayashi Hirabayashi and Masaki Morimoto target a telescope towards the star Altair. Using radio waves, they transmit a short binary encoded message in an attempt to contact extraterrestrial life.
This was a groundbreaking piece of history in terms of the search for extraterrestrial life. This message basically told information regarding human life, human history, DNA, and also the location of the Earth itself. So any potential extraterrestrials living in the vicinity of Altair would potentially know where we're coming from.
The star of Altair is 16 light years away from Earth, and so it was expected that the binary message would reach that star by around 1999. And now, from 2015 on, the Japanese are expecting some kind of reply from their signal.
Now, what's particularly intriguing is that Altair actually represents one of the ancient Japanese gods. This makes me wonder if the scientific community had come to a conclusion that perhaps their ancient god, represented by Altair, may not have been a god after all.
So you have to wonder here, are these Japanese astronomers trying to contact the extraterrestrial gods that they believe came to Earth and started the Japanese civilization? It would seem so.
In 2010, JAXA, Japan's national space program, announced plans to establish a base on the moon by the year 2020. And recently, the Shimizu Corporation unveiled designs for their Lunar Ring project, a massive band of solar panels surrounding the moon that would beam limitless clean power back to Earth.
When you look at all the
2010, JAXA, Japan's national space program, announced plans to establish a base on the moon by the year 2020.